Okay, this is Mr. Peterson. Math 31, we're looking at sections 7.1 and 7.2, and it's an introduction to graphs and how they work. We're going to start with pictograph here, and it's called a pictograph because you use pictures to represent numbers. So I've got a little picture of a passenger car, and every time you see that, you should think that Peterson's auto sales in a given month sold 100 cars. So a picture of a truck is 100 trucks of sales of 100 trucks. So for instance, in March, you can tell instantly that they sold more trucks than cars. And you can quantify that, at least to an extent, by just counting the pictures: 100, 200, 300, and about a half a truck, so 350. So that's kind of how these work. They're very popular in magazines and also in, I think, instantly of the newspaper USA Today. They like a lot of pictographs. Okay, so how many cars were sold by Peterson's in April? Well, we're looking at cars, so you want to make sure you're looking at this top line and that you're in the April slot. So you just count there: 100, 200, 300, and it looks like about a quarter of a car, which would be 25 cars. So we're guessing a little bit, and that's one of the problems with these graphs is you have to guess some. 325 cars were sold. So how many more trucks than cars were sold in June? So we're looking at June and we're comparing the numbers here. Well, let's start with the trucks. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, and about 3/4 of a truck there. The picture represents approximately 75 trucks. So we're 475. And we're going to be taking away the number of cars, which is 100, 200, 300. So they sold 175 more trucks than they sold cars. Okay, which month had the weakest truck sales? You're just going to be making sure you stay on you're comparing all the lines that say trucks here or that have pictures of trucks. So you compare that line with this line, with this line, and with this line, and it's pretty obvious here that the weakest month was May. Okay, the last one is how many vehicles of both types were sold in March and April? So we're just going to look at March and April, and that'll be these 2 months here, and we're counting everything. So I'm going to first of all start with full vehicles here. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and I'm going to add another 20 to that, or 25, because of that little partial picture there. So cars, 625, plus, and we'll switch our attention now to the trucks: 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 750, I'll say, 750. And that takes us to a grand total of 1,375. And I'm going to put approximate. Now, since this is both types, I misspelled approximate. Hang on. I'm going to put vehicles. Okay, next we're going to be looking at reading bar graphs. And in a bar graph, the quantity is represented by a length of a bar. The bar can be vertical, like this first example, or you can have these bars stretching side to side or across the page left and right, and those are horizontal bar graphs. Now, if they're nice to us, they actually give us the numbers here, and they have this number right here tells me that the continent of Europe is 3.9 million square miles. And you can compare that with all the other ones around it. If you look at the height of the bar, you can tell that Europe is one of the smaller continents. Okay, so remember these are millions of square miles. You'll need that information. Which continents are larger than North America? Well, we're going to compare to that 9.5. And the ones that are larger are Africa and Asia. Africa has 11.7 million square miles, and Asia has 17.2 million square miles. So the next one is compare quantitatively Asia and Europe. Asia has 17.2 million square miles, and Europe has a mere 3.9 million square miles. And when you subtract 17.2 minus 3.9, you get 13.3. And you need to tack on here the interpretation, million square miles. Now, if you prefer to write the symbolic version of square miles, oh, sorry, let me get back in there. Sorry about that. Okay, million square miles, and the square miles you can write like that. Okay, the next one here is actually three questions, so we'll do a part A and part B and part C. Part A is find the median size of the continents. So in order to find the median, you'll remember we have to put these in order. We'll start with the smallest, Oceania and Australia, 3.3. And then the puny little Europe, 3.9. 5.4 would be next in size. And we've done this one and this one and this one. Then it's 6.9, followed by North America at 9.5, Africa at 11.7 million square miles, and finally Asia at 17.2. And the middle number is 6.9. So the median is 6.9 million square miles. Now, if you're doing the median and you end up with two numbers in the middle, you simply average those two numbers by adding them up and dividing by 2, and that'll tell you the median. That happens, by the way, when there's an even number, but we're dealing with 7 continents here, an odd number, so we didn't have that problem. Okay, the next one is the average size, or the mean size. And what you do is add the numbers up, which turns out to be 57.9. And then you divide by the number of data pieces. There's 7 continents. And so when you do that, you get 8.3 million square miles would be the average continent size. The one closest to that, if you just compare them, it's going to be either 8.3 is going to fit right in between those two, and it's slightly closer to 9.5. When you subtract 9.5 minus 8.3, you get 1.2, a difference. And when you take 8.3 minus 6.9, it's 1.4. So 9.5 million square miles, and that's the size of North America. So you may not realize this, but you live on an average sized continent. Okay, this next example is also a bar chart. It's a horizontal one. You can see that the bars are stretching from left to right. And it's pretty quick to see that California outdoes all the rest. These numbers in this problem represent the number of House congressmen in the House of Representatives, and it's for the 13 Rocky Mountain and West Coast states, and I think it includes Hawaii. Okay, so the first question is, which state listed as the most political power? Well, if that's defined by the number of representatives, we definitely would say California here. California has an immense population, and so they're very well represented in Congress as far as number of representatives. So how many representatives does Arizona have? compared with Utah? How many more? So Arizona, and here you're going to see a weakness of this sort of chart. It's a little hard to tell. I think that's 9, but I wouldn't argue too much if you said 8. And then Utah, I'm going to say 4. So I'm going to go 9 minus 4 here. And we now know that Arizona has 5 more representatives than Utah. Okay, the last one I'll do on this first installment of the video is why would it be hard to find the average number of representatives on this using this graph? Well, unlike the last graph where we were actually told the length of the bar, if you remember, there was a extra information underneath the ones that we saw with the continent areas. We have to estimate all of these. And in order to find the average, you have to know the exact numbers and add them all up and divide by the number of data pieces. And in this case, we don't have that precision. So without the precise scale, we can't figure out what the sum of all those bars would be, those lengths that they represent. Okay, so I'll pick this up on page 4 in the next video.